The 25th Amendment is of zero risk to me, but will come back to haunt Joe Biden and the Biden administration. As the expression goes, be careful what you wish for.
President Trump speaking in Alamo, Texas yesterday, warning of the grave threat big tech platforms and the left pose to Americans' freedom of speech. In the 7 days he has left in office, a growing number of lawmakers in D.C., including top Republicans, voted earlier today to impeach him for the second time, which the president said is only causing more division and pain in the country.
The impeachment hoax is a continuation of the greatest and most vicious witch hunt in the history of our country and is causing tremendous anger and division and pain, far greater than most people will ever understand, which is very dangerous for the USA, especially at this very tender time.
Here with reaction is founder and CEO of American Majority, our friend Ned Ryan. Ned, good to see you again.
Yeah, good to be with you, Buck.
What do you make of impeachment 2.0? It's happened.
Complete insanity. Absolutely another hoax based off, we have the actual transcript of Trump's speech from last week that they claim, he was calling for insurrection, all of these things. It's absolutely false. We can actually read the transcript and see the video for ourselves. What this is really about, Buck, in my mind, the great outsider came in. He was an existential threat to the ruling class, to the swamp, to the system of D.C. And really what I view this as is an attempt to really dissuade and discourage anybody from ever thinking that they should ever get the idea, if they're an outsider, of running for president again. And this will teach a lesson to those people. Of course, I think it will backfire on them. Like, you're not going to erase 75 million Trump voters. And quite frankly, you're not going to erase Donald Trump. He's not going away anytime soon, despite their hopes and wishes. Not only by Democrats, but by Republicans as well. I think some of Mitch McConnell's comments have been absolutely shameful. And Liz Cheney as well. It's like they want to take the GOP and absolutely annihilate it by discouraging and running off their base. It's insanity.
What is motivating the Republicans? You mentioned a couple of them who are going along with this. Is it their own political self-interest, or do you think that they really have been convinced that the Democrats will give them credit going forward for bending the knee on this issue?
Well, I think if they're thinking that, if they think that somehow Democrats will give them any credit for this, they're sadly mistaken. But they are dangerously naive on a variety of fronts. I think it's the donor class is part of it. I think it's the neocons with Liz Cheney that somehow think more foreign interventions and trillions of dollars and thousands of lives being spent for nation building is still a winning philosophy. So I think it's a combination of misguided political philosophy, donor class pressure, and people really resenting the fact that when this outsider came in, it really upset some of the power structure inside of the Republican Party, and they want that to go away. But I would advise and tell them, we're not going away. And I'm actually appreciative of this moment of clarity, because every Republican that's voting for impeachment, I swear to God, Buck, they're going to find a primary challenger in 2022.
Ned, we also are occasionally told by Democrats that they want unity, but I'm hearing a lot more from Democrats in elected office, as well as on TV and in the commentary world, about treating Trump voters like terrorists. Here is a CNN national security analyst making that kind of case about the president himself and his supporters. Play the clip.
Trump is the spiritual, but I will also say operational leader of this domestic terrorism effort. He tells them where to go. He tells them what to do. He tells them why they're angry. And so we need to start at the top, like any counterterrorism effort, which is total isolation of the president of the United States. Impeachment, yes. 25th Amendment, yes. Deplatforming, yes. All of the above. No money, no access to campaign funds. A complete isolation, because as the leader of a terrorist organization is viewed as a loser, as a not winner, it is harder for him to recruit. Look, he's going to have his radical elements. We will arrest them. We will isolate them. But what we have to make sure is that Donald Trump does not have a second act.
Leader of a terrorist organization, Ned. That's on a national cable news channel. And the anchors, of course, nodding, yes, that's great.
Yeah, no, I think it was to CNN's shame that they actually didn't call her out and say you can't use that irresponsible language. dangerously irresponsible. You know, Buck, I think the thing that is concerning, there's a lot of things to be concerned about, but the fools, and I mean that in all seriousness, the fools on the left who are working through big tech and through some of these other places to really back people into a corner, my great fear, and I do not want to see this happen, I want to be very clear on this front, but that they're going to radicalize certain people who feel that they've been backed into a corner, have no other option. And my great fear is that somehow they're going to actually launch multiple Timothy McVeighs because they have been so foolish in what they have done. I think the thing that is really troubling to me is that their idea of unity is absolute subservience and conformity, which is, of course, very un-American. But I think we're in for it for the next couple of years. And I would remind people, if we do not do something to restore electoral integrity between now and 2022, you know, all bets are off for this constitutional republic.
And to get a sense of where the media is going to be going with all of this, and I know it's not going to, I'll make a prediction that I'm certain of. None of this is going to stop. It's not going to become more friendly and unified after Joe Biden is sworn in. Here you have the political director of ABC News, Rick Klein, who has written an article calling for the cleansing of the movement of Trump supporters. Cleansing the movement. Forbes, also not really known as a particularly left-wing publication, but Forbes chief content officer put out a piece saying, "Let it be known in the business world, hire any of Trump's fellow fabulists, and Forbes will assume everything your company or firm talks about is a lie." Almost a kind of journalism blackmail scheme. I mean, I've never seen anything quite like this from Forbes. We can't convince them to stop this lunacy, can we, Ned? All we can do is point it out and try to fight back against it.
Yeah, the amazing thing to me is that a lot of these people inside the media, inside D.C., both Republican and Democrat establishments, they don't seem to understand why Trump. They don't seem to understand why the great outsider won. It's because tens of millions of Americans think that the system has abandoned them, shut them out. And we're not talking a few million, we're talking tens of millions. And you can't push them off to the side and act like nothing is going to happen. And I will say this, I mean, this is time for a restoration. It's time for a revolution at the ballot box, to be clear, Buck. The American people have to rise up. They have to get back to electoral integrity. They have to make their voices heard in 2022. Because you're right, this is not going to get any better. And there's no amount of bowing to the mob that, you know, the Liz Cheneys and all of that want to see. Somehow it's going to get better. They are working to consolidate power. And I've said this time and time again, big tech, corporations, the establishment want to consolidate power and make it into more of a one-party corporate rule. And I think that's what we're up against, and they're very powerful. The American people have to decide what their future looks like, and they don't have a whole lot of time, I don't think.
Ned, always good to see you. Thanks for your insights. Hey Team Buck, just want to say thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more great content from The First, please click that subscribe button.